Welcome back, my fellow Warcraft grognards. There is a video that I was teasing making for a little while now, for quite a long time now, and I just really needed the right opportunity, the right timing, and after my players have also already visited the content in my game, because I didn't want to spoil things for them. And the right timing for that video has really come now, because Midnight has been not released, but it showed up on the alpha content on the beta servers, and we are seeing a lot more material about the topic, and that topic is, of course, the Void. I have teased about making the how I fixed, quote unquote, the Void in World of Warcraft for a TTRPG, and there are several things that have come up recently that really make me address the topic. Things that we have learned recently. One of the first things that come up is from the video where you can see the great Chris Metzen narrating an introduction to Midnight, which I think we have all seen at this point. And if you haven't, just go watch it right now, because it's very important to Warcraft lore fans, and it's going to be very important to this video. So you should probably watch this right now. Pause the video, go watch that video, and come back to me, because I will talk about it. And what Chris Metzen says in that video is about Dimentias, about the Void Lords. Because, as we all know, the Void Lords were these great cosmic entities from the Void, from the unnamed Void dimension. The cosmic entities that were responsible for creating the old gods. The cosmic entities that were responsible for a lot of the bad things, almost majority of the bad things that happened in the whole Warcraft setting. And they were responsible sometimes indirectly by manipulating things, and even the Burning Legion, the Burning Crusade of Xal'atath was indirectly caused by the Void Lords, because the Void Lords sent the old gods across the cosmos, and Xal'atath found one of those. He found a sect of Nathrezim worshipping an old god, and he realized what the goal of the Void Lords was. As we were introduced to it at the time of the Chronicle, the goal of the Void Lords was to corrupt a world soul and create a dark titan, a creature that has all the power of a titan, all the incomprehensible power of a titan, but is on their side and would devour all of reality. And when Xal'atath discovers that, he cleaves that world in two to prevent the world soul inside it from being corrupted, and starts the Burning Crusade as a response to that threat, because he thinks if he wipes out all the other world souls, the old gods, the Void Lords, will have nothing to corrupt, and they will have no way of entry into this universe. What we have learned now, what has been alluded to in the game and in the alpha content, and what Chris Metzen addresses more directly in that video I talked about, is that Dimentias was the last Void Lord. And I have deep respect for Chris Metzen. He is a very creative mind who gets to really use his creativity in a very productive way, who gets to really live off of his creative dreams, and I have deep respect for him for that reason. But the man makes some big mistakes sometimes, and I don't know if this was his idea, the last Void Lord, if this was his idea or if this was his team's idea and he is just presenting it. But either way, My first reaction hearing that was that there is Blizzard always knows how to really undermine the stakes they've built up. And they've done that so many times. They've undermined things they've built up, one of the key moments in Warcraft 3 was how Arthas went beyond any moral threshold and was willing to sacrifice Muradin to pick up the Frostmourne. And this Muradin's death was this moment of showing us that he has finally crossed the final line, even further than Stratholm, because he crossed a very personal line, sacrificed a friend for power. And then in Wrath of the Lich King we find Muradin was alive, so Arthas really didn't really sacrifice that much. But this is just a symbol of like many ways in which Blizzard undermines the stakes they've built. So let's talk about what the Void Lords were supposed to be. They had a grand cosmic plan as presented in the Chronicle. They had a grand cosmic plan where they wanted to corrupt a world soul. They wanted to corrupt a titan in its nascency. And that plan drove a real titan, Sargeras, insane. It drove him to extremely radical measures just to try to stop this plan from being executed. They were these horrible cosmic beings responsible for the creation of the old gods. To compare them to the Lovecraftian fiction, which I know they aren't exactly the same thing, but as a comparison, for the equivalent, they were supposed to be the outer gods to the elder things of the old gods. The outer gods were to Cthulhu what Cthulhu was to us in the Lovecraftian fiction. They were the gods of gods, and the Void Lords, the creators of the old gods, they were the equivalent of those outer gods. They were these vast, incomprehensible cosmic beings that are so vast that sometimes you wouldn't even notice that that's what you were interacting with, because to us they would register as just as a force of nature. That's what the Void Lords were originally presented as. And now we learn not only that the chief goal, as seen in Midnight, as alluded to in Midnight, is just to devour the world soul, not just in Midnight but also in Ghosts of Karesh Patch. We learn that their chief goal is just to devour things. They don't want to corrupt the world souls anymore. They want to just eat the world souls, like Dimensius just consumed Karesh almost completely. We learn that they simply want to devour things, which is nothing entirely new. We do know they want to devour things, but they had a grander plan that drove Sargeras into action. If they were never planning on corrupting the world souls, Sargeras had no reason to start his burning crusade. So you undermine a major reason for a major element of the setting by changing this. And not to speak of Dimensius being the last Void Lord, because it also undermines the stakes of their cosmic power. They were supposed to be these horrible, incomprehensibly vast cosmic beings, and now there's just one of them left, and he got sucked up into a necklace. Okay? I mean, it's really hard to undermine the stakes more than that. Like, it really kills any sense of threat they might have possessed if they are just all gone. The threat that was supposed to drive Sir Geralt mad has been reduced to a necklace on the lady that's floating around with her bare feet to to draw simps in. Like, and the last thing that really drove me to start this topic, to really start getting into this, the last thing this is technically from data mined content, from like just screenshots of things that even on the alpha and the beta haven't really been shown yet. But we have screenshots. We have that Blizzard is calling the Void Dimension the Void Lands. Like, I know this is just a screenshot from unreleased content from alpha servers, so it's technically not canon. But given that it also appears like at least once in one lore video that they have released, we have reason to believe that at least this is their plan right now, to call it the Voidlands. So there is still time for them to change it, and I sincerely hope they do change it, because oh my man, it's hard to imagine a name that is less creative and more boring, more basic name than Voidlands. Guys, look, we already used the name Shadowlands for the Death Dimension. What do we call this one? Oh no, I know, we could call it the Deathlands. But why would you call it the Deathlands when it's the Void Dimension? Why did you call the Death Dimension Shadowlands? I don't know. It's just, we could switch it around. No, listen, dude, don't switch it around. Okay, we already used the Shadowlands, but what if we call it the Voidlands? We haven't used that yet, have we? And that's what it feels like. It's a very boring name. I sincerely hope they do change it in the future. And it's like a temporary name, because what I like to do with calling these places, with describing these places, I like to be a little more poetic with how I call these dimensions. Sure, the arcane dimension is called Arcanus, but it's not Arcane Land or the Magic Land or anything of the sort. The life dimension isn't just lifelines, isn't just domains of life, domains of nature, nature lands. My nature dimension is life spring, because it contains that life in there, but it has the element that hints at something greater. It's that life springs from there, and that is what it is cosmically in my version, because the archfey that rule the life spring, these archfey are responsible for designing and creating various forms of life that they then put down the stream of souls, the river of souls, which then propagates those designs out into the into the mortal world. So this name evokes the cosmic function, and it doesn't just describe this is the place where this thing comes from. Twisting nether has nothing to do with fel or chaos in the name, and it's also a very poetic, very unique name. The holy realm I called paradise, which probably isn't extremely creative, but it also gives us a certain poetic sense of what it is. It's the perfect place, a place of perfection, of unity, a place of bliss. It evokes a certain idea behind the name more than just this place from that thing. So I have already been talking about this for nearly 15 minutes, but I want to get into what I have done with the Void Dimension and how I have dealt with this question of this realm. And to introduce you to that realm, I want to uh, walk you through a little bit of an adventure. Like, imagine being in an adventure, in a TTRPG adventure, where you are a group of adventurers setting on to the world of Telogros, onto the shattered realm of Telogros, the rocks floating in the dark, empty space of the great dark beyond, the shattered remains of the once great world that was cleaved in two by the dark titan Sargeras, and shattered by that single mythic strike into 1,000 tiny pieces. Nevertheless, in the remains of that world, there still live creatures, not just the ethereals who are attracted, the Shadow God ethereals who are attracted to this dark, forbidden place, to the place of this world soul that was almost corrupted by the void, by the darkness. They are drawn to it, and while they are there and they try to commune with the void in a place that is just a little bit closer to that forbidden dark dimension, they try to commune with it, and as they do, they manage to open a portal going straight into the void. You and your group of intrepid adventurers come in and defeat these ethereals. They defeat the Shadow God, but even after they are dealt with, the portal remains, and the things that might come out of it might still threaten the world, not just Telogros, the already ruined world, but the things that come out of it might then spread out into the greater cosmos and threaten the place you call home. However, this void rift cannot be closed from here, from this end. You have to cross through that portal and have to close it from the other side. You have a special device which you can then use to go back home from there, so you will not be stuck on the other side, so you will be safe going over. But you have to go into that forbidden realm, and you have to end it there. So you manage to cross through that portal, and as you emerge on the other side, you realize you see nothing. You don't see darkness, you don't see a dark realm, you can't see anything, you can't see the portal behind you, you feel the ground under your feet, you are standing on something, but you can't see anything. And lighting torches and flashlights is pointless because no light exists in the void dimension, and no light can exist in the void dimension and is instantly snuffed out. And one of your companions who came with you, one of them who is a little more experienced in the void, perhaps you came through there with the Locust Walker after freeing him from the Shadow God slavery, and perhaps the Locust Walker explains to you that because light cannot exist here, but you cannot see anything with your eyes. To see anything in this dimension, you have to close your eyes and see with your mind. He teaches you how to focus your mind on what's around you, how to focus your senses on this strange dimension, and eventually, over a little bit of time, you start really seeing things with your mind, with your eyes closed, and you start to realize what it is. You see a shattered, bleak landscape with little of what could be classified as life to you. And even seeing through your mind, looking up around you into the sky, you don't seem to really see anything. There's, even when seeing through your mind, you see nothing in the sky. This isn't explained until a little bit later when you go through this dark dimension and eventually you see something, some kind of altercation. You see this strange, decrepit little hermit being assaulted by something. This kind of slug-like creature of pure darkness that is trying to devour him, jumping on his back, wrapping its slimy tentacles around him. But you intervene because you don't know who this creature is, which of these creatures could destroy you, but you see a hermit in danger, and one of them looks like he could talk to you, so you decide to intervene. You kill the creature assaulting him, and you talk to the strange, creepy little man. And he finally starts to explain some things to you. This man finally explains that the place you are in is often called the realm of hunger. It is the realm of the hungering void. It's the realm, not the realm of any specific void lord, because you're not on top of a void lord. He explains that if you want to see the void lords, you should look up. The darkness you're seeing up above you is not just nothingness. Well, it is nothingness and it isn't. What you see up there is the void lords. Because in the dimension of the void, nothing is something. And these beings, these shadows of living beings that once lived in the mortal world like him, these Tartarians, these remnants of a forgotten dark age, they are the living in the cracks between the void lords. They live in the empty spaces between the void lords. And that's what these quote-unquote people who live here call this dimension. Not the void lines, the empty spaces. You would go on around this dimension, meet more of these Tartarians, learn more about how they live, about this cruel, dark, tyrannical realm they came from, about the dark age they inflicted upon their world, and how eventually they sacrificed all their souls and they went into the void and remain as a shadow of their former selves. And you would learn about other realms, such as the realm of oblivion and you would learn that there are other things like the Dominar living in these realms. But all of these things, all of these some things, live in these empty spaces in between the Void Lords, because the Void Lords themselves, they are the epitome of nothingness. I never gave any concrete number or names of the Void Lords, except of the ones that we already knew, like Dimensius, and I also made Amon from StarCraft, one of the Void Lords, and some other creatures from other settings that we have merged together for our TTRPG, for a very multiversal TTRPG. But generally I avoided giving a concrete number and names of the Void Lords, because while I do a lot of that in my designs, in my TTRPG design, where I give a concrete shape to things that weren't really known in the WarCraft cosmology prior to that. I do believe that when it comes to the Void Lords, they are best left as generally unknowable, incomprehensible, Like there may be a figure there in the empty spaces, in between the empty spaces. There may be a figure that is the equivalent of Azathoth or Yog-Sothoth or Hastur. And there may be beings that are equivalent to them in their cosmic role and power. But that is not really important about them. What is important about the Void Lords is that they are the incomprehensible vast darkness that will devour all things if left unchecked. The darkness that if you would see it truly for what it truly is, it would drive you mad because of how different it is from anything you know. That's why you can't really define the names and numbers. That's why I only defined a couple of small realms of these empty spaces stuck between the Void Lords. And as the Void Lords move and take bites out of each other, as they do that, these empty spaces are also reshuffled. Sometimes they are destroyed, and sometimes new form in the spaces between the Void Lords. And nothing is really extremely permanent in this dimension. And that's the core design of the lands of the void, or the empty spaces, in my WarCraft based TTRPG. And I believe I have talked about this for long enough, but if you would like to know more, if you have questions about this dimension, this realm, and what I have done with it, other creatures that may be present there, any individuals, named and powerful individuals from that realm, if you would like to know more, I'm also always open to questions in the comments below. But meanwhile, I think it is time that I would end this video. And I sincerely hope that Blizzard it changes some of the details and stops undermining their own designs in the future. And please, Blizzard, if any people at Blizzard are watching this somehow, please rename that dimension before it goes live, because that is so bad. I'm sorry, but that is so bad. I have really deep love and respect for your work, but please change that. This is a very sincere plea from me. Anyway, that will be all for me. And if you liked it, of course, don't forget to do all the YouTube things. Please like and subscribe, and do all the YouTube things. Leave me comments about things you liked about my design, disliked. Maybe you think I'm entirely wrong about the name Voidlands. Maybe you think it's a great name, it's a perfect name to just simply flatly describe what's in there. It's lands of the void. It's Voidlands. It's a perfect name. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't forget to tell me if you think I'm wrong about something. I'm always open to a discussion and criticism. Anyway, now that really will be all, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.